Hey everybody, what is happening? Hope you're having an awesome day. Today I'm going to talk about some things that you can do to decalcify your pineal gland and also to awaken and open up your pineal gland. And some of the reasons you may want to do this is so you can heighten your intuition, deepen your connection with your spiritual self, your connection to source energy, and just evolve more as a human. So this is something I've been researching more lately. I find it a very interesting topic, and I love the topic of spirituality as well. So before we jump into things you can do to both decalcify and open up your pineal gland, I want to take a quick look at a research paper that will hopefully give you a little more incentive to make some of these changes in your life so you can start at least stopping the process of calcifying it and hopefully reverse it and start to decalcify your pineal gland. So let me bring this paper up. Here it is. So it's Pineal Calcification, Melatonin Production, Aging-Associated Health Consequences, and Rejuvenation of the Pineal Gland. So let's start off. I'll just go through the abstract, and I'm just going to highlight a few things in there, but the pineal gland is a unique organ that synthesizes melatonin as the signaling molecule of natural photoperiodic environment and as a potent neuronal protective antioxidant. So you need melatonin to sync and set your circadian rhythms. You also need melatonin to get into a deep sleep, but what a lot of people aren't aware of, or at least fewer people, they're not aware that melatonin is also a very potent antioxidant in your brain. So if you care about your brain, you want to have and maintain healthy melatonin levels. Now, we want to avoid melatonin supplementation, at least chronically. I think taking it occasionally is okay. Or a lot of people were doing high dose melatonin for COVID. For something like that, I think it's fine. But a lot of people are really relying on melatonin to get a good quality sleep because a lot of people, they're not aware of blue light and how it impacts their sleep and other aspects of their health. And so they're turning to things like melatonin. And we know this because it is a billion-dollar market. So a lot of people can't sleep. They're taking melatonin. I did a video a month or so back, and one of the reasons that you want to avoid melatonin that I talked about in that video is because it increases glucose intolerance, or it makes you less tolerant to glucose. When that happens, you store glucose as energy, which is fat. So it can cause weight gain, it can increase risk for diabetes, and it's also a hormone. So when you add a hormone to the system, then you are throwing off other hormones, and the timing of melatonin supplementation is very important. I'm going to share a really good food source a little bit later in this video that you can take in lieu of melatonin if you're currently using melatonin to help your sleep. Well, let's move on with this paper. An intact and functional pineal gland is necessary for preserving optimal human health. That's what we're all about on this channel. And unfortunately, this gland has the highest calcification rate among all organs and tissues of the human body. Pineal calcification jeopardizes melatonin's synthetic capacity and is associated with a variety of neuronal diseases. So when your pineal gland isn't performing optimally the way it should, you make less melatonin. Melatonin is a very potent antioxidant for the brain, and with less melatonin, you get more inflammation in the brain that increases your risk for other neurodegenerative diseases. So in this current review, we summarize the potential mechanisms of how this process may occur under pathological conditions or during aging. And we hypothesized that pineal calcification is an active process and resembles, in some respects, of bone formation. So you want to maintain good bone formation throughout life. Bone is always remodeling and regrowing and repairing itself, but you don't want bone formation around your pineal gland because, like we said, that's going to impact your melatonin production. And you make other hormones in your pineal gland as well. You also make DMT, which a little DMT is released when you're dreaming. So when you get these like Dolby surround sound, very intense dreams, melatonin is involved, but so is DMT, and that comes from your pineal gland. And some people will actually take a synthetic DMT, or I don't know, I've never done it personally, but when people do like a DMT trip or experience, whatever you want to call it, lots of times they have a very spiritual experience. So it sounds super cool. There are ways to release your own DMT. I'm really going more down that path as opposed to taking an exogenous DMT. But either way, we do want to keep our pineal gland healthy so we can make our own DMT. Goes on to say the mesenchymal stem cells. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but the mesenchymal stem cells and melatonin participate in this process. Finally, we suggest that preservation of pineal health can be achieved by retarding its premature calcification or even rejuvenating the calcified gland. And that's what I'm going to be sharing in a little bit. I want to go through this research paper a little bit. It's 31 pages, but about 15 pages of it is cites. So it's not quite 31 pages, but I'll put a link to this research paper below in this in the description here, in case you want to check that out and just kind of geek out and really dig into the weeds on that. But it's an interesting paper. Right here, I just want to highlight a few points to you. So pineal gland calcification, melatonin production, neurodegenerative diseases, and aging. And if you've seen some of my recent videos, neurodegenerative diseases are on the rise, especially Alzheimer's disease, and we're seeing it show up younger and younger in people. In fact, I did a video a couple months back showing that for people in their 30s, between like 30 and 39, there has been a 300% increase in people getting early onset Alzheimer's disease. Not a good place to be, because once Alzheimer's disease really sets in, you're kind of hosed. You really have to depend on having a good provider that's going to, if the right intervention comes, they're going to help you to do it, but you don't really have the drive or motivation to do it on your own. So just a few parts that I highlighted here. Large amounts of evidence suggest that pineal calcification was indeed associated with human pathological disorders and aging. So that speeds up aging when you have a calcified pineal gland. Additional studies have reported the strong association of pineal gland calcification and neurodegenerative diseases, particularly Alzheimer's disease. So is that a major driver of the increase in incidence of Alzheimer's disease that we're seeing? It could be. I think there are other things, but that's definitely one of the drivers. It is well established that melatonin is a neuroprotector with its potent antioxidant function and anti-inflammatory activity. The brain is rich in lipid, and it lacks the oxidative enzyme catalase, and it consumes large quantities of oxygen, about 20% of the total oxygen consumed to make energy, with 1% of the total body weight. So lots of times I've talked about how the brain is an energy hog. It uses up 20% of your body's energy production. I've always said it makes up 2% of you. This paper says 1%. Sizes of brains in people vary, and if you do enough of the right things, hopefully you can get your brain up to 2%. Everyone wants a bigger brain. But what this does, lacking this catalase enzyme, is it makes the brain more vulnerable to the oxidative stress than other organs. So a decrease in endogenous melatonin, that means you make it yourself, will result in the neurons being less resistant to oxidative stress or brain inflammation. Several studies have reported the negative association between Alzheimer's disease and serum or cerebral spinal fluid melatonin levels. So I just want to highlight this. Endogenous, that means you make it yourself. Exogenous, that means you're taking a supplement. Melatonin directly inhibits the secretion and deposition of the beta amyloid protein. So a big driver of Alzheimer's disease is this beta amyloid protein, or beta amyloid plaque. And there's also these beta tau, does it say here or someplace else? Melatonin, it also suppresses this tau protein hyperphosphorylation, thereby reducing intracellular neurotangles, which is another biomarker of Alzheimer's disease. So this clearly establishes that we want healthy levels of melatonin to maintain brain health. Something else that this pointed out is they did this experiment where they grafted a young pineal gland from a younger animal to an older animal, and this had a significant increase in the animal's lifespan. As humans, we can't really do this, but they had the same effect with exogenous melatonin. But again, I do not recommend that for the long term. Ideally, you want to be doing everything you can to maintain your body's optimal production of melatonin. So pineal gland calcification is often related to the decreased melatonin levels and several pathological alterations, including neurodegenerative diseases. Alzheimer's disease, we've talked about that. Multiple sclerosis. Migraines, another big deal. So having lower melatonin levels, that can increase migraines, which are a very big deal today. They're a leading cause of disability in the workplace today. Also symptomatic intracerebral hemorrhage, symptomatic cerebral infarction, sleep disorders. A lot of people are insomniacs. Also sleep apnea, defective sense of direction, and pediatric primary brain tumors. So brain tumors showing up in kids, not a good thing. Melatonin, super important. I think we're just about done here. I had a few other parts highlighted. Oh, so what are the main drivers? So, what they say in this paper is currently we cannot definitely answer this question, but several clues might indicate the relationship of pineal gland calcification with aging pathology. So number one is chronic vascular inflammation. So that's a major driver of heart disease. We do not want inflammation in our vasculature and our veins and blood vessels. Now, the other interesting thing is the pineal gland filters an incredible amount of blood, second only to the kidneys. So a lot of blood is going through the pineal glands, but when you have this vascular inflammation, you're getting less blood flow. With less blood flow, you're getting increased calcification. One of the drivers are some of these pro-inflammatory cytokines. One of them is this transforming growth factor beta. The other is tumor necrosis factor. So when you are not living a healthy lifestyle, you're increasing these pro-inflammatory cytokines, which can lead to more of this chronic vascular inflammation, reducing blood flow to both the brain and the pineal gland. Next is brain tissue hypoxia, so not getting enough oxygen to the brain. And many pathological conditions cause brain tissue hypoxia, including hypertension. Hypertension, a big driver of hypertension, is stress. Super important to manage stress. One of my favorite practices for managing stress is having a morning routine, doing a gratitude practice, connecting with nature, going on walks outside. Those are very simple ways to help you manage stress. But sleep apnea. So if you have sleep apnea, you either want to be using a CPAP machine or doing some things so you can reverse sleep apnea. One big thing is losing weight. Another thing you can do if it's not too severe is mouth taping. And I've done other videos on that. But mouth taping trains you to breathe through your nose. Lots of times when people breathe through their mouth, if I have a little too much to drink, I snore, and sometimes I will wake myself up because I'm not getting enough air, and I'll hear myself snoring right before I wake myself up. So I don't really snore as much as I used to. Occasionally I will, but I started mouth taping, and I did it for a couple weeks. I trained myself to do it, and every couple of months I will mouth tape for a couple nights just to keep my body trained to breathe through my nose when I sleep. And that really increases the oxygen levels. It increases circulation, but it's going to get more oxygen in your brain. But having a stroke, that can increase that. And having respiratory disorders, if you're not breathing well, then you're not going to have enough oxygen in your body. That's going to impact your brain. One indication that you may not be breathing the right way, or you may not have good circulation, which means if you don't have good circulation, You're not getting adequate blood flow to your brain. But if you have cold hands, cold feet, that's an indication you don't have enough circulation in your brain. So that's one of the benefits of exercise. It improves circulation. But there are other things you can do as well. The third thing is intracranial pressure. So intracranial pressure usually increases with cerebral disorders such as idiopathic intracranial hypertension, brain trauma. So if you have a concussion, TBI, traumatic brain injury, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, that can be a vicious cycle. Having Alzheimer's disease can just speed up the decline of the brain and decline of the pineal gland. Now, this next section, it talks about rejuvenation of the pineal gland. The only problem is they talk about grafting. The other thing they talk about is microdialysis. So I don't know how available that is to the average person, and it's probably super expensive to go in and get microdialysis of the pineal gland. So I'm going to wipe that option off the table, at least for me. If you have access to it, I'd love to hear below how it worked out, what it was like. But one of the things that this paper says is a major contributor is fluoride, and the level of fluoride in the pineal gland of goosander, some kind of animal, was 5 times higher than in the brain of the animal. So for some reason, the pineal gland, it really will collect fluoride. And when you have higher levels of fluoride, there's a correlation to increased calcium accumulation of the gland. So like I said, I'll put a link to this research paper in the comments below in case you want to read it. But now let's talk about what are some things you can do to decalcify your pineal gland and stop the calcification, and also some things to open up your pineal gland so you have increased intuition. You have a deeper connection with spirit. Maybe you're interested in connecting with your spirit guides, and learning to open up your pineal gland and decalcify your pineal gland is going to help you deepen that connection. So number one, no fluoride. If you live in an area that fluoridates its water, a majority of municipalities in the United States fluoridate the water. And the fluoride that they put in water, it's not the fluoride that occurs naturally in nature. It's an industrial waste product. And there was some scam years ago where I think it was a fertilizer company, or I think there was a lot of waste when we made the first A-bomb. But the companies or the people that had all this excess fluoride, they said, hey, fluoride is good to reduce cavities. Let's just put it in the water so we can improve people's oral health and they get less cavities. But nothing could be further from the truth. There's a lot of research that shows that there are lower IQs in municipalities that fluoridate the water versus areas that do not. So if you live in a place that fluoridates the water, buy your own water or get an in-house reverse osmosis water. But most filters do not remove fluoride. I know Berkey advertises that they remove fluoride, but I know some really geeky people that had a Berkey, they sent the water out to be tested, and it still showed some fluoride in the water. So I wouldn't take a chance with it. If I lived in a place that fluoridated the water, I actually do not live in a place where I live, they don't fluoridate the water, but there's still a lot of other junk in water that we want to avoid putting in our bodies. So all the water I drink, I purchase. I buy either reverse osmosis water or spring water, and that way I can avoid getting any fluoride. Fluoride is also in toothpaste. So if you haven't already switched to a fluoride-free toothpaste, sometimes I make my own toothpaste with like coconut oil and baking soda. Usually I just use it out of a tube because it's a little bit easier. I will use Dr. Bronner's Kiss My Face I've used before, and I think it's called Hello. I get it from Thrive Market. It's a charcoal toothpaste. It's black, but they do have one that's fluoride free. It kind of does make a mess in the sink, but I like it. It seems to work well. But also antibiotics. So Cipro, for example, there's this thing called being floxed. Some people get a very, very bad reaction from being put on Cipro because there's so much fluoride in there that it's messed a lot of people up. So if you need to be put on Cipro, for example, if my doctor ever said, hey, we need to put you on Cipro for this, I would say, what's another antibiotic we can use that doesn't have fluoride? So that's what I would do personally, not medical advice. I'm not a doctor, but for informational entertainment purposes only, that's what I would do. So no fluoride. Get rid of the toothpaste. Make sure it's not in your drinking water. And make sure you're not getting it from medications. Other medications do have fluoride as well. So just something to be aware of. Having very good light hygiene. So when you are exposed to blue light at night, that sends a signal through your eye to your suprachiasmatic nucleus to your pineal gland to turn off melatonin production. That means you don't get into as deep of a sleep. You don't have that anti-inflammatory activity for your brain and for the rest of your body. So really clean up your light hygiene at night. Make sure you're wearing your blue blocking glasses. Put some links below if you don't have yours already. And also change out your LED and your fluorescent bulbs. Go with good old-fashioned incandescent bulbs. They're a pain in the butt. They blow out more. They use more energy. But they're a whole lot healthier for you. And in the long run, you're going to save money from having that better health. If you can't find incandescent, you can use halogen bulbs as well. And all that energy that doesn't get converted into light, it gets converted into infrared light, which you can't see. You can feel it as heat, but that's very healthy for you. That's also anti-inflammatory. When I'm up at night reading a book, I read to a red infrared light bulb. Got it from a pet store. They sell it for lizards, but it provides enough light to read to, and it doesn't mess up my sleep. So I can be in my bedroom at night with my curtains closed, my blackout curtains closed, and I don't have to wear my blue blocking glasses because I'm not getting exposed to any blue light. Also getting quality sleep. When you sleep, that's when your body detoxifies. That's when your brain clears out different toxins and different things that you don't want in your brain. So if you're not sleeping well, you're going to accumulate toxins, metabolic waste, just different things that you don't want in your body, and that's going to speed up aging. So you really want to focus on getting quality sleep. Now, I promised you before I would share a good melatonin replacement, a food source. And anytime you get these things from food, they're balanced with other nutrients that the body has evolved to taking. Our body has not evolved to exogenous melatonin because it's only been around for, I think, commercially available in the drugstore 20, 30 years. Maybe it was available before, but pistachios. So 18 pistachios, which have been around for millions of years. 18 pistachios are equivalent to 3 milligrams of melatonin. So ideally, you want to stop eating 3 hours before bed, but somewhere like 2 to 3 hours before bed, if you have trouble sleeping and you want to take a handful of pistachios, that's a natural way to help your body increase its melatonin levels. The other part of light hygiene is making sure you're getting lots of exposure to natural light. And about an hour, hour and a half after sunrise, there's UVA light that's in the spectrum of sun. When that goes in your eye, that actually makes something called ocular melatonin. It also makes dopamine, it makes serotonin, it makes melanin, which helps you get a nice tan. And that's going to improve your sleep, getting more sunlight exposure during the day. But watching the sunrise, that syncs your circadian rhythm. You need your circadian rhythm to be synced and intact for everything else to be working, to get a proper release of your hormones, for example. Next is Chinese skullcap. So Chinese skullcap has a number of benefits. It's antibacterial, I believe it's antiviral, antifungal. It's also very helpful for sleep. So if I remember going through a period, let's say I have a bad night's sleep and I don't want to take any chances the next night, sometimes I will take Chinese skullcap because it helps me get a good sleep. But one of the other benefits of it is it reduces this transforming growth factor, this TGF-beta, that when we have too much, it causes vascular inflammation. So that's one way you can decrease that. The second way is using Panax ginseng. So if you struggle with your energy, a lot of people will take Panax ginseng to help feel more more energetic, but that can also help to decalcify your pineal gland. What's next? Silica. So another thing that accumulates in the brain that can increase risk of Alzheimer's disease is aluminum. Silica is very good to help you detoxify aluminum. It detoxifies some other things as well. You can get it, you can buy a supplement, you can get it in a liquid ionic form. Fuji water is one of the highest waters in silica. You can also use, I think it's called horsetail or shaved grass tea. I'll put a link down in the description to the one that I use, but when I was dealing with Lyme, I did have higher levels of aluminum, so I was drinking a lot of that tea just to help my body detoxify. And it's a mild, very pleasant tea. Also iodine. So iodine can help the body displace fluoride. If you have Hashimoto's, I would caution against this. Make sure you work with your healthcare provider. Supplementing iodine with Hashimoto's can lead to some issues, but for me personally, I supplement with iodine almost daily. I'll put a link below to the one that I use. The one I use, it's a Lugol's kind of solution, and it has some selenium in it as well. It's also very good for the immune system. Next, fulvic humic acid, loaded with different minerals. The one I use, it's in an ionic form. I'll put a link below along with a coupon code to save you $5 on it. But one bottle typically lasts me 6 months, and it's liquid. It's very easy to take. I just mix it in some water with my iodine, chug it down, and that helps the body to detoxify. Also helps to detoxify the pineal gland. And there's quite a bit of research showing that iodine also helps decalcify the pineal gland, probably because it helps to reduce the fluoride in there. Vitamin K2, so you can get that as a supplement. A good food source for vitamin K2 is natto, which is fermented soybeans. When I was dealing with Lyme, I was taking natto because, well, it's good for the gut. It's loaded in vitamins and minerals. It tastes disgusting. I never was able to get over the taste. Like for me, a lot of things, the first couple times I have them, if I keep eating them, I kind of get used to it. I was never able to get used to natto. It just has a super pungent, funky taste. It's super slimy and sticky. I haven't had it in a while because where I live now, I can't find it. But if you do use natto, make sure you get an organic source. You don't want to be eating GMO, glyphosate sprayed soybeans. So make sure you get an organic natto. But sauerkraut also has K2. I do enjoy sauerkraut, so I'll usually do a tablespoon or two each week. You know, I don't. If I do too much sauerkraut, that tends to kind of mess up my gut. But those are some different supplements, some different foods that you can do to help your body detoxify. Also, seafood. Seafood is a good source of iodine. Also has selenium in there to help your body detox. Seafood is loaded in DHA omega-3s, which are very good for your brain. So you can give your brain some extra love eating some good wild salmon or sardines, anchovies. I was talking with one of my clients today. She was saying how she got her husband a bunch of cod liver, which I used to eat. I think it's like King Arthur, and it's packed in cod liver oil. So it's might be a little bit of a stronger taste for some. I actually really enjoy the taste of it. Let's see what else here. Next, meditation. So the other recommendations were really more to help you decalcify your pineal gland. This is to help you awaken and open up your pineal gland, or open up your third eye. So your third eye is right here, but your pineal gland, it's kind of in the middle of your brain, kind of like right above your ears. So if you're just to go straight in here, right in the middle, that is where the pineal gland is. And guess what? People wearing their AirPods, those things, the signal goes to one and then it goes to the other. So it's going very close to the pineal gland, and it's not just a straight line. There's a field, So wearing those AirPods, can that speed up calcification of the pineal gland? I don't know, but I'm not going to find out either. I'm not putting anything that emits radiation that close to my brain. Most important organ. They're all important, but you can get a heart transplant, a liver transplant, a kidney transplant. You cannot get a brain transplant, so you got to take good care of your brain. So avoid sources of radiation close to the brain, because that does open up the blood-brain barrier. That allows more toxins in, and more toxins, more inflammation in the brain. Guess what? That's going to speed up calcification of the pineal gland. So if you go on YouTube, you're going to find a lot of different meditations to awaken the pineal gland. Very simple thing you can do is just when you're meditating, you can just bring your attention to your pineal gland. You can bring it to your third eye, or you can bring it to your pineal gland. And remember, where you put your attention, that's where energy flows. So for example, if you're, let's say you're dealing with some anxiety over something. Lots of times when I have anxiety, I feel it here. I'll put my hands here and I'll just close my eyes. I'll slowly breathe and I'll just keep my attention there, and that'll just kind of make it poof, almost disappear. Same with pains. I've been doing a lot of work on the computer today, so I've got a little tension in here. So just putting my hand in the back of my shoulder like this, breathing into it, having my attention on the shoulder, that makes it feel a whole lot better. So when you're meditating, if you can just bring your attention to either your third eye or your pineal gland and just spend some time. You can also do a visualization of bright, beautiful, bright white light going in and rejuvenating your pineal gland. That's going to open it up. But putting your attention there is going to increase blood flow, which means you're going to bring more nutrients to your pineal gland and take away the trash, the waste, different toxins, and things like that. A book I'm reading right now is Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. He shares a pineal gland awakening meditation. Maybe I'll do another video on that, but it's basically, it's breathing in, it's visualizing energy going from your root chakra up through your chakras to your crown chakra, but also kind of squeezing your perineum, your lower abdomen, then your upper abdomen as you breathe. And that squeezing actually helps to squeeze more cerebral spinal fluid up into the pineal gland. And that's going to help open it up. It's going to release more melatonin. Supposedly, if you do it the right way, you also can get like a big release of DMT. I'm not there yet, but it's I'm getting better at doing that meditation. At some point, maybe I'll do another video going into more detail on that. But if that's something you're interested in, then go out, get his book, and he writes great books. It's the third book of his that I'm reading through, and I like his work. So if you haven't checked out Joe Dispenza, check him out. Really, really awesome guy. Next, so doing just a meditation or breath work where you're bringing your attention to your pineal gland. Next is doing eye exercises. So the eyes are an extension of the brain. Once your eyes start to go, that's usually an indication that you're going to have some sort of neurodegeneration. It's according to Dr. Jack Trues, who taught me a lot of what I know. He's a neurosurgeon, and he knows a lot about the brain. But doing these different eye exercises is going to help you improve that. There's a video I saw from this Indian yogi woman, and she was actually talking about avoiding blue light to maintain pineal gland health, which I was impressed with. But she was also talking about doing these eye exercises where you go in circles with your eyes, go one way then the other. You can look up to the right, up to the left, down to the left, down to the right. You can look at your third eye, look at your nose. But when I do those, I can feel the muscles in my eyes and they're getting a workout. I sometimes do that in bed at night if I'm having trouble falling asleep, because making my eyes a little bit tired is a simple hack that helps me fall asleep. So I do a lot of different things if I'm having trouble falling asleep. That's one of them. But make sure you're doing some eye exercises. Another one is looking at your palm and then looking at something off in the distance. So I've got a window right here, so I can just go kind of back and forth from my palm to looking further out through the window. And that's going to work your eye as well, and keep your eyes, your brain, your pineal gland good and healthy. So that's all my notes, but try it out. There are many other things you can do, I'm sure. I'm sure I missed a lot. If you have some favorite practices to either decalcify the pineal gland or to open the pineal gland, then please share it below. I'd love to hear about it. And if it's something new to me, I'll try it out. I'm always trying new things to see how I respond to them. And that's really the best way to learn, because we all respond to things differently. But keep on doing things that give you a benefit. Keep those things. And the things that don't really work, drop them and add something else that's going to benefit you. So thanks so much for checking this out. Hope you learned something new. If you liked it, give it a like, give it a share. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Click the bell so you get notifications for new videos. And I'll be back again real soon with a new video. One more thing. I do have a course, 2 weeks to double your energy. So if you struggle with energy, this is very simple lessons, 5-10 minutes a day of different practices you're going to learn to help you dial down stress, gain more peace, happiness, but best of all, you're going to have more energy to do all the stuff you want to do. So check that out. There's a link below. There might be a link somewhere around here. And I'll be back again real soon with a new video.